the second age, before even the birth of Shirikar, evil dwelt deep within the roots of the world. They were not crafted by the hand of any god, nor any process of natural life. It is ever debated whether such creatures are born or manufactured deep within the haunting depths of the pit. Today, it would be contested if such a demon even existed. The greatest evidence, as scholars note, is the Shrouded Age. Though there is a distinct lack of documentation regarding this time, sources from the start of the Third Age detail reports of vampires and undead armies scourging Centrum as an unholy plague. The most striking details of such an account is the perpetual blotting out of the sun. In truth, vampires do exist, though their numbers have always remained but a handful, and the truth of their origins are more disgraceful than any story the men of Centrum have ever told. Though their flesh is pale and cold, it was not within the lands of Prorus, where menfolk dwelt, that such creatures spawned. It was to the east, in Feyfura, and the ancient covens of elves that hold the blame. Hilsari, a disciple of Mezbel, arrogant and conceited in her ways, had rebelled against her mistress to form her own coven before her time. She took with her 4 of Mezbel's lesser students, and formed the Sisterhood of the New Moon. To her later shame, Mezbel did not act against the Sisterhood at this time, as she perceived no legitimate threat, and feared the ramifications to both her reputation and her soul should she slay her own students. But Hilsari had plans far more sinister than Mezbel could yet realize, for just as Shirikar would fall to the same deception several hundred years later, Hilsari had an unknown visitor in her dreams. Pithme had spun his dark web within her mortal mind, and so he lay plans within plans. Should Shirikar fall, a new shadow would rise. The Sisterhood would hide in their secluded caves, away from the heat of the desert sun, practicing their incantations through the day and praying to the 3 moons of Centrum come nightfall. For 500 years they continued this way, their dark skin gone gray and wrinkled from such extended seclusion. Their nails grew long and eyes had become sunken, unable to bear even the faintest ray of sun. And in the 664th year of the Second Age, the gates of the pit opened up for the Sisterhood of the New Moon, and the 5 withered women stepped through the threshold. The sights before them would drive any sane man mad, but centuries of isolation and dark meditation had driven these elves insane long prior to their meetings with the demons. The indescribable nose-burning scent of the pit, which choked the lungs upon first breath, the twisted, gnarled structures suspended from high ceilings and drenched in foul yellow fumes, the never-ending cackles of the grandchildren of Inkna, and the screams of all the slaughtered resounding endlessly upon dark halls. Here it was that the first vampire was conceived. The Sisterhood, whose rotted minds lay bare before the unspeakable horrors before them, welcomed the demonic broods inside. Within the dark citadels of the Forsaken, the plan set forth by Pithme was taken to fruition. Rituals and incantations, careful manipulation of the elven women's bodies until the demonic hordes deemed them worthy. Made unrecognizable by any mortal, these things were no longer elves, but nameless things that would remain as such for eternity. Pithme, Pakare, and Gree melded their hate and loathing into a single seed, and the nameless thing once called Hilsari was made to bear it. The beast inside grew ravenous, and Hilsari had no choice but to gorge herself upon her sisters until it was her alone that stood in empty, rancid pools to gestate the monster. It was over 100 years that Hilsari carried the child, unable to scream any longer as her vocal cords had withered decades ago. Her consciousness barely held together as she tried ceaselessly to escape into her dreams. And finally, without any warning, on the 860th year of the Second Age, as Shirikar the Black Dreamer met his end, the being once known as Hilsari would find her peace. She let out one final, silent scream somewhere from deep within her soul, before the mass of twisted flesh she had become would split open, and Silas was born. A vampire, the first of his kind, and terrible was his might. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified of new videos. To be notified of the latest Glorybound news, projects, and book releases, you can sign up for updates on gloryboundstory.com. In the coming weeks, I will be releasing a short story set in the Glorybound universe, exclusive to those who sign up to the email list. Also be sure to check out Patreon, where I post exclusive behind-the-scenes content, as well as early drafts of chapters for upcoming books.